New Moon Rapture here. I wanted to do a quick video about my live stream the other night with Aaron and a guy called Bubba News and Jason K. That was on Jason K's channel. Some of you guys saw it. I just got a couple quick rebukes I got to throw out there to Aaron and to most Christians. Some of you guys just don't know this information, but you got to do your research. So it's not to everybody. But one thing that the majority will say that believe that in 1948, the nation of Israel was gathered, and that is the gathering of Israel in the last days that God does. Most people that believe that also say, well, every single person that believes that says that, you know, that's the fig tree generation and 70 to 80 years is a generation. So where they were at, with 1948, you go 80 years, and that brings you to 28. And even if you push it back a year, 1949, that takes you to 2029. Or even if you push it to 1950, which most of them don't, that takes you 80 years, you know, a generation, takes you to 2030. So where it does not take you any time of the year is 2032. And see, these guys don't know where they're at. They're just guessing now because, you know, they said it was at 2930, the second coming of Christ, back in 22 and 23. And then when 24 hit and there was no rapture, they pushed it up to 2031. And now 25 hits, they push it up to 2032 because they don't know. They're guessing. And they got off the track because, first of all, they believe that that is the gathering of the nation of Israel that God does in the last days, and it is not. That is the creation of the state, not the nation. The state that is called Israel, conducted by the Satanic Synagogue of Satan, United Nations, and the Rothschilds. Look it up. It's all simple to look up. That's what that is. And hardcore Zionism. And if you look up the way that it was done by murder and pillaging and evil, wickedness. The people who are the true descendants of the Hebrews are E1B1A blood type. There are L2 and L1 haplogroups. Who is that? That is Sub-Saharan African and Native American DNA. Those are the true bloodline of the Hebrews. Now, granted, it's not every single African because there is other bloodlines, but that is who it is. Now, who isn't it? A bunch of white people, a bunch of Ashkenazi, Khazarians, okay? Even the Hebrew language that we use today was only made up 150 years ago. True Paleo-Hebrew was thousands of years old. See, the Hebrew that we say is Hebrew today, that's just modern Hebrew. Does it make sense and have a lot of meaning and good? Yeah, sure it does. But it's not the original Hebrew, and because it's not actually Hebrew, and that because the people over there are not actually the Hebrews. Okay? They're not Israel. 2nd Ezra 6:9 says that Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is that which followeth. God doesn't gather true Israel until the end of the Great Tribulation, 28-29, and then they go into 30. That's it. It didn't happen in 1948 or 49 or 50. But getting back to my point is that how are all these people who are using that to say 70 to 80 years is a generation? It doesn't work anymore. It can't work anymore if you believe in a 7-year Great Tribulation, which is a lie. You can't do it. It's impossible now. So what do? Oh, now the second coming is 2032. And the last year was 2031. Now, granted, this is the year of the rapture. And this is the beginning of the Great Tribulation, but it ain't 7 years. It's 42 months. Okay? And I can go all into that. But my point is that these guys don't even agree with themselves. Anybody who believes that the state of Israel, created in the 1940s, is the nation of Israel and God gathered them. That is not the case. That's a counterfeit. Everything that the enemy does is a counterfeit to the truth. They want you to look over there when the truth is over there. That's exactly what they got people to do. And if we rightly divide the Bible, now listen to this. Those of you who know how to rightly divide the Bible, you know that we're in the dispensation of the grace of God, where there's no difference between Jew and Gentile, and blindness in part has happened to Israel. So if we're still in that dispensation, why is everybody saying, oh, they're the chosen people and they're God's special people? Well, we're not in that dispensation right now. And most of the world doesn't know who the true Hebrews are, and they don't even know who they are. And God is going to wake them up after the rapture. So how can we be in the dispensation of grace, yet be in the prophetical time of the gathering of Israel at the same time? We can't be. You have to rightly divide the Bible. That is not the nation of Israel. And God didn't do that. That was Satan. That was the ultimate counterfeit. And the end is 2029, 2030 for the return of Jesus Christ, second coming. And the rapture is this year. But I was on the live with Aaron the other day, and he actually had the nerve to say that, if the rapture doesn't happen on Pentecost, because he's pushing Pentecost now, as if anybody should listen to that, because he's got the date wrong like 50 times before. But anyways, so he's pushing Pentecost, and he says, if it doesn't happen, then I'm going straight to 26. So what is he going to do? Then he's going to say, well, now it's 2033, not 2032 anymore. See, these guys don't have any idea. They're just guessing. They're making guesses. They don't know the timeline. They got off of the timeline because they believe in a 7-year great tribulation. And that's the lie. That's why they're floating around in outer darkness right now. Don't know left from right. And then when I bring up the Shemitahs, a Shemitah is every 7 years, year of release. And they used to agree, just like the truth is, that 28, 29 was the 7-year mark. 22, 23, 22, 21 was the 7-year mark, and 7 years back from that. So everybody used to agree on that. But now that they've erred from the truth, Aaron even says, well, nobody knows when the real Shemitah is. We don't know. No. You don't know because you're in false doctrine. He's being swayed by every wind of doctrine. Oh, Aaron just says, I'll just push it to 26. And then we'll have to push 2032 to 2033 because they don't know anything. And they're off. False. Hey, if his track record and all these guys' track record for the past 2 years, and some say for the past 7 years, they've been setting dates, setting years, and they've always been wrong. Now, they were on. They were right when they said that 29, 2030 was the end, but they lost it because they believe in a 7-year great tribulation. And with that error brings all these other errors, all kinds of other stuff now. Oh, if it doesn't happen on Pentecost, just push it to 26, and then we'll just go to 2033 like it's no big deal. They don't know anything. Aaron, you don't know anything. And you were trying to be the boss of me on the show and shut me down and stuff like that, yet you're the ignorant one. You need to check your attitude, and you need to repent and come back to the truth. Back to the truth. Jesus confirmed the covenant in Daniel 9:27. That's Galatians 3:17. That covenant was between God and Israel. How in the world is the Antichrist going to confirm a covenant between God and Israel? You guys are lost, and you refuse to repent. And Jesus was cut off in the middle of Passover week, a 7-day week. And what was God showing us? He was showing us that Jesus was also cut off in the middle of Daniel's 70th week, the micro to the macro. Why do you think Jesus' ministry was 3.5 years? Just because God was like, well, I guess I'll just make his ministry 3.5 years. No, that's exactly half of a 7. Wake up.